There's a kind of quiet that exists in certain people's lives that most others mistake for loneliness. You can be in a room full of people, laughing at the right moments, contributing to the conversation, and still feel like you're watching it all from behind glass. Not disconnected exactly, just selective, careful. Like some part of you is always running a slow, quiet calculation about who is actually safe. If that sounds familiar, you already know what this is about. People like this are often described as cold or distant or hard to get close to. They get told they need to open up more, that they're too guarded. That trust is something you have to give in order to receive. And somewhere along the way, they start to wonder if something is wrong with them, if the way they move through relationships is a flaw they were born with or a wound they haven't healed yet. But what if neither of those things is true? What psychology has found again and again is that the way people calibrate trust is not random. It is not arbitrary. It is deeply, precisely shaped by experience. And people who trust very few others are not broken. They are, in many cases, operating from a nervous system that learned something real. This is about the psychology of selective trust, and there is far more happening beneath it than people realize. The first thing to understand is that the brain's threat detection system, the amygdala, does not treat social environments differently from physical ones. To the nervous system, being betrayed or dismissed or repeatedly misunderstood registers in the same neural circuitry as physical danger. Research in interpersonal neurobiology, much of it built on the work of Dan Siegel, shows that early relational experiences literally shape the neural pathways that govern how safe the world feels. This is not metaphor, it is architecture. So when someone grows up in an environment where trust was met with inconsistency, where vulnerability was sometimes met with warmth and other times with ridicule or neglect, the brain does what it was designed to do. It learns, it adapts. It builds a more sophisticated filtering system. The result is a person who reads rooms carefully, who waits before revealing themselves, who extends trust incrementally, not out of cynicism, but out of a kind of internal wisdom that was earned, not chosen. This is not a preference. It is a nervous system adaptation. And adaptations, by definition, exist because they worked. It is worth saying clearly that people who trust widely and warmly are not more evolved. They simply had different early data. They received enough consistent safety signals that openness became the default setting. Neither wiring is superior. They are responses to different environments. Both make complete sense within the context that created them. Now here is the part that most conversations about this never reach. People who trust few others often have a paradox living inside them. They are, in many cases, extraordinarily loyal, deeply feeling, capable of a level of intimacy that most people never actually experience, because most people never slow down enough to build it. The irony is that the very mechanism that keeps others at a careful distance is the same mechanism that makes the connection, when it does happen, unusually profound. The cost, of course, is real. A life with few trusted people can feel quietly isolating at times. There are moments of wondering whether the caution is protecting something or preventing something. That question is worth sitting with, not as a problem to fix, but as an honest reflection on what you actually want. But here is what is also true. The person who waits before trusting is not withholding. They are being honest, because when they do let someone in, it means something. It was earned. And that kind of trust, slow and deliberate and rare, tends to hold. You are not too guarded. You are not damaged. You are someone whose nervous system learned to take relationships seriously, because relationships, in your experience, were serious things. That is not a wound to overcome. It is information to understand. And if some part of you has been quietly carrying the story that the way you connect is a problem, you might consider that the story was never yours to begin with. It was handed to you by a world that often mistakes openness for depth and volume for warmth. There is something else worth knowing about people wired this way, something that connects this particular pattern to a few other traits that tend to move together quietly beneath the surface. If this felt like something you recognized, that part might be worth exploring next.